All right, this is the last Reagan years, and this is the Iran mess. There's a ton of stuff, and Reagan is going to be associated for a long time with what happens in Iran. Okay? First off, if you remember Jimmy Carter and the Iran hostage crisis, um, Reagan is the man who negotiated the end of this hostage crisis once he becomes president. Now, many have speculated, and it kind of comes to light later on here, that, as you can tell by the TV, Reagan looked very tough and um, productive, while behind the scenes a little secret became out that the United States was going to lift their embargo. Part of the punishment for Iran taking hostages was that they had an arms embargo and nobody could sell them weapons. So Reagan kind of secretly makes this deal that he's going to lift the embargo to end the hostage crisis. You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. The problem is Congress is not willing to lift this arms ban, and so a secret deal is made, and it takes quite a few years to find out, and it's the subject of towards the end of this video. I'll get to it, okay? Now, what does Iran need weapons for? Why are they so concerned about lifting the ban? Beginning in 1980 and lasting until 1988, Iran and Iraq will fight an 8-year war. It wasn't about which country had the best last consonant, although that would have been hilarious. The N is better, not the K, or the X, or the Q. Okay? So we have all these crazy things. Now, what are they actually fighting about? Iran and Iraq together at one time, if you've seen the movie The 300 with Xerxes, it was Persia. And they want to be, pardon the pun here, Prince of Persia. Video game nerds just went ape when I said that. Anywho, the Ayatollah wants to control Persia and make it an Islamic fundamentalist. Sharia law is the big word there, thing that comes up a ton. Whereas the leader of Iraq is a man named Saddam Hussein, and he wants to control it militarily because it has a ton of oil, and he wants to make a ton of money. So there are two people are fighting over this, okay? Now, Saddam Hussein is going to do something that kind of goes against the grain. Saddam Hussein is going to introduce the use of chemical weapons into the Iran-Iraq 8-year war. And many innocent civilians will be harmed by this, as well as many soldiers. This goes against the Geneva Accords, ending World War II. You can't have chemical weapons. And the worst part about this is, he's on the side we picked. We picked not to help Iran, although there was a secret deal that's completely off the table here. We had begun to help Saddam Hussein. We felt that he was the better of the two. And it comes out to light that these chemical weapons. Now, does that mean that we use chemical weapons? No. It just means we picked the wrong side to support. Okay? Now, a U.S. involvement and a mistake. The U.S. begins to get involved at this point. We're going to have troops there. We're going to help Iraq, etc. And we have some anti-aircraft gun. Now, there's a huge mistake made around 1986, more or less, and that is a commercial airliner of Iran's will be shot down, and everyone on board will die. And as you can tell by the Iranian postage stamp, the country that shot down this plane was America. This is not an easy thing to get around or anything like that, although there has been a ton of reparations made. We did pay Iran a certain amount of money later on out of reparations for this, but really, if Iran didn't hate us before, this is really going to ratchet it up, and the anti-American rhetoric in Iran begins to grow stronger. Okay? Go back here first. Now, at the end, what happens? They both agree to kind of just go back to their involvement. Neither side's going to win, and so this 8-year war was essentially for nothing. All right? Towards the end of the Iran-Iraq 8-year war and Reagan's tenure, it's getting close to 1988, and at this point, I think it's 1987, and so a report comes out that Reagan knew and actually approved of some secret dealings with Iran. collectively, when this mess hits the fan, it is called the Iran-Contra scandal. Now, how does this all fit in? The U.S. will not sell weapons to Iran, correct? We had that as punishment for the Iran hostage crisis. However, we agreed to get them weapons, or to have somebody sell them weapons, rather, provided they do something else with the money, okay? At the same time, we want to help the Contras out in Nicaragua, but the Boland Amendment prevents us from doing this. All of this is kind of covered in the Iran-Contra scandal. So here's what happened. The CIA, America, will sell weapons to Israel, okay? And they sell these weapons, let's say $12 million, and it's a rounding up number, okay? Israel is going to turn around and sell those weapons to Iran, but they're going to put the price tag at, say, $15 million, okay? Now, why are they charging more if they paid at 12? I'm getting there. So Israel's really not making any money. They're just kind of the middleman. This is getting around these things. Now, with the extra money coming back to Israel, the CIA was aware of how much they were charging. The extra money was being sent secretly to the Contras. So the Contras are getting money, Iran is getting weapon, Israel's getting full support of the United States, and the United States is technically staying out of this, right? Now, this really hits the fan, and everything begins to kind of point back to Reagan. Did Mr. Reagan know about this? Now, famously, there is something called the Tower Commission, something like that. And they ultimately rule that Reagan did not know about this. And he can't be blamed, he can't be impeached, etc. We got to have a scapegoat, though, right? Now, the organization that they said kind of arranged the dealings with the CIA was a group called the NSA. It stands for National Security Administration. We now call it the National Security Council. It's the same thing. Okay? And in this National Security Administration, there's a whole lot of people. There's a kind of a general at the top, and there's a deputy beneath him. That deputy is named Oliver North. Oliver North is the man who will be charged for the Iran-Contra scandal. Now, some phrases he uses is, at one point they ask him, and you can tell by the political cartoon there, do you have any documentation of your belief? And he said some documents were shredded. Now, somebody with the political cartoon said that those documents were the Constitution and the American flag. Right? The other thing he said is, I was authorized to do everything I did, meaning somebody above him, Reagan, ordered him to do it. As I said, Reagan will not be charged. Oliver North's prison sentence is actually commuted. He doesn't serve much time at all. And Oliver North has written many books on the subject about talking about how much personal freedoms are sacrificed in the name of national security. You thought you'd get away for a second without hearing it, but it comes back again, right? Now, that is the end of Mr. Reagan. Reagan is out, and his vice president, George Howard Walker Bush, that's Daddy Bush, not Little Bush, will be elected in 1988, taking in 1989, and the next videos will deal with that man.